What's up guys, it's Josh from Soul Studios. As promised in the last video, I'm back with the Retro 176 review. And I made a pretty bold statement in the last video. I said I think it is the best compressor ever made for vocals. And I'm going to do my best to prove that to you here today. Now just a little background, when I say something like that, I want you to know that I've been through a ton of compressors over the years. Ranging all the way up from a Magic Death Eye to all of the modern clones that are being made by Stam and Audioscape and those. And they all have their place, and I've really enjoyed all of them. But even with some of my favorites like a Stay Level or V-Comp or Chandler RS-124, I really loved the tone and the sound of those, but there was something that was lacking in the control of the attack and release times that I would run up against a vocal where they wouldn't work. Or like with the Stay Level, I really love to dig into that one and push it hard, but sometimes tracking through it kind of painted me into a corner with too much color. And then you've got your opto compressors, which don't have adjustable attack and release usually, and you have your 1176 varieties, which have variable attack and release, but they don't have tubes. They don't have the tone of some of the Varimu comps that I like. So anyway, to make a long story short, I've settled on the 176 and I couldn't be happier. Like I said, particularly for lead vocal, but it also works great on pretty much anything I've thrown at it. And one of my favorite things about this compressor is that I can use it in the tracking and the mixing stages. I can even track through it at say like 2:1 and then mix that same vocal with it at a 4:1 ratio later, and it's not too much. It still works that way, so that's also a huge plus. So I'm going to pull a few things straight from the manual here, because one of the first things you'll notice is there's more switches and knobs on this compressor than you may be used to seeing on some others. So I want to run through real quickly. I'll do some close-up shots as I'm giving the dialogue about it to show you what these different options and different controls do, so that when I get into the audio examples and I'm engaging and disengaging things, you'll know what that's doing. Okay, so real quick, the Retro 176 is modeled after the Universal Audio 176 limiter. It's a recreation of that original unit, but it goes beyond by adding a lot of the features that were not found on the original. It has continuously variable attack and release times, so you can really dial in exactly what you want there. You're not limited to any stepped switches in those situations. There was a quote in the manual that I thought really summed up my feelings about the Retro 176. It says, possibly the best application for the 176 is to use it on the stereo bus, buffing it to a glossy finish. That sums it up pretty well. It says the Retro 176 adjusts tone in a way that equalization cannot. I completely agree with that. There's something magical about some of these tube compressors that maybe it makes the vocal a little brighter, but in my experience, it's in no way the same as, say, EQing plus 3 dB with a 10K shelf or something. It's just something a little bit different. A lot of times there's a little bit of saturation going on along with the compression it's doing and the brightening, maybe the interstage transformer. There's just a lot in a unit like this that really adds to the sound. Alright, continuing to go through the features here, you get up to 20 dB of gain reduction. The attack knob you actually can pull out. It has a pull switch which makes the attack a single time constant, which is the way it was on the original UA 175B and 176. So it becomes a fixed attack at that point. In my experience, it's a little bit dirtier, for lack of a better word. It's a little bit more aggressive. But it has its place, and I actually do use it fairly often. One thing that is unique to this compressor that I haven't seen on any other is what's called the asymmetry switch. And straight from the manual, it says many voices and instruments are highly asymmetrical waveforms. The asymmetry switch selects whether the detector is full wave, detecting both the positive and negative sides of the waveform, or half wave, which detects only one side. With the asymmetry switch set to plus or minus, you generally hear the compression open up. And the last feature to go over here is the interstage transformer. And straight from the manual again, the interstage transformer separates the gain reduction stage from the amplifier stage. It provides a distinctive load for the variable gain stage to work into. Alternatively, the interstage transformer can be bypassed, which changes the tone and character of the compression. And once again, it does. I've found that to be very true, and it's nice to give you a couple of different palettes to choose from. Alright, so let's get into the examples. We're going to use some tracks from my friend Patrick Rock again. This is his song Lately. And I'm planning on doing acoustic guitar, vocal, electric guitar, and we have some strings, some live strings on this one. And then I'll probably jump to another song so we can get into some drums and bass there. Alright, let's check it out.
When I see a problem, I run. The walls that you build, and they must weigh a ton. And I'm sorry I haven't been much fun, but I can't control these fears. And you said that you understood, and you knew in your heart that one day I'd be good, and we'd smoke all of those cigarettes and catch up on all that I missed these years. Lately, birds just sing, and the sun warms my skin, and I feel like I'm finally living again. When I hear that song, well, it takes me right back to that place. Oh, we had so much fun. Remember when money was never around, but somehow we'd laugh and we'd drink all night. Lately, birds just sing, and the sun warms my skin, and I feel like I'm finally well laid high, and the sun warms my skin, and I feel like I'm finally living again. Oh, oh. lose someone and they're nowhere to be found. When you lose someone and you wish they were still around. When you lose someone and this place just ain't the same. When you lose someone and nothing can replace all their beautiful face, sometimes things go down. Most times it works out. There's a million people out there just like you. Well, some to lose. There's a million reasons to see this whole thing through. There's a million people out there just like you. Some to lose. There's a million reasons to see this whole thing through. It's just what we do.
Alright guys, what do you think? That is the Retro 176. I tried to run it on several different sources so you could really get a feel of what it's capable of. And what I hope you saw is that it can get pretty aggressive. I mean, it can really clamp down on the most dynamic vocal that you have and really lock it in place. And one of the greatest things about that is that if you have a mix where you have a quick deadline or something, you maybe don't have time to do the vocal rides and the automation that you normally do, it can really lock it in place without having to do that. If any of you have ever used an 1176 really aggressively, what you'll notice is that once you get that aggression and tone that you want, now you've got these consonants that are just, I mean, you can literally see the spikes on the waveform. And one of the best things about the 176 is that you just don't get that. I mean, the Spiff plugin even has a preset called something like 1176 hard consonants, so it's a well-known thing. Like I said, there's a lot of other compressors out there, and I have owned a lot of them. I enjoy them. I still have the Bluey back there, which is still one of my favorites. But when you're talking about desert island all-around compressor, I don't know if you can beat a 176, at least for my taste. And I showed several examples, like I said, and on the second vocal, I went down to 2-to-1, slowest attack, fastest release, the asymmetry switch in the plus position, interstage transformer off, and that's one of my favorite tracking settings for vocals. And you can just catch the peaks that you need, roll the high pass filter up to about 125 hertz, and you just have a great sounding vocal. You've got a little bit of the tube warmth coming from the compressor, a little bit of the magic it's doing on the top end, but once again, you haven't painted yourself into a corner that you can't get out of. Anyway, this could be like a 3-hour video. I love this compressor so much. But I should have said it at the top, but I'll say it now. With every review I've ever done on this channel, there's no endorsement, there's no discounts, there's no shenanigans going on. It's just my honest opinion. The people at Retro have no idea I'm doing this. So anyway, I like to keep it that way. Like I said, if that ever changed, I would be sure to let you know up front. Thank you guys for tuning in again. This has been the Retro 176 compressor review. I hope you found it helpful. Coming up next after this one is going to be the Bee's Knees BU87 mic. All right, thank you guys. See you next time.